In the 1940s, the American dime had some real buying power. It could get you a pack of smokes, a couple White Castle hamburgers, or 2 ice-cold Coca Colas. The good kind, in glass bottles. The dime also went a long way when it came to comic books. Unlike the wildly overpriced publications of today, the comic books of yore were fat-packed with pages, sometimes featuring 8 complete stories an issue. Sit back, put your feet up, and let's see what 30 cents might have gotten us for breakfast.
Breakfast!
First up, Dynamic Comics number 12 from Harry Chesler's World's Greatest Comics. Acts of compassion and charity yield a harvest of despair for Dynamic Man. Oh sure, they look like humans who need help and sympathy, but don't be fooled. These so-called unfortunates are agents of death, spreading the dreaded Red Plague. Men, women, children, no one in town is safe. Frantic at the thought of infection, a mob storms City Hall. The army of the afflicted use this to their advantage, terrorizing the innocent in their homes, with authorities seemingly powerless to act. Contaminated leaflets are dispersed throughout the city, leading to greater panic. Fortunately, Burt McQuaid, aka Dynamic Man, is on the case. Using his dynamic vision, he studies one of the leaflets, discovering a vital clue. Taking to the skies, he soon catches up with the plague drivers and gives them the business. However, before he can take them into custody, one of the fiends sprays carbolic acid in our hero's eyes, temporarily blinding him. Dynamic or not, that's gotta sting. Meanwhile, everyone in town is desperately cashing out on their property, taking huge losses for the sake of personal safety. Sadly, it's too late, as the first signs of infection have begun to appear. Unnoticed, Dynamic Man follows 2 of the spreaders back to their hideout. Leaving subtlety to other heroes, D-Man bursts through the wall into seemingly unbeatable odds. Sure, he's bulletproof, but what can he do against these bloodthirsty freaks?
Slice his fingers off. Pluck out his eyes.
Well, you don't get to call yourself Dynamic Man if you can't produce results, and he stomps the opposition. Determining the plague is simply a scare tactic, D-Man locks up the disfigured henchmen and heads off to find their leader. But has he flipped? This is just a simple doctor's office, not a supervillain's lair. Well, true evil often lies just before our eyes, as our hero soon discovers. Confronting the mastermind of the whole operation, Dynamic Man gets another face full of acid, but he's ready for it this time, presumably with some orange juice and Grateful Dead tapes to keep him mellow. Shaking the doctor down, we learn the whole Red Plague scare was just that, a real estate scam designed to acquire the town cheap to access the vein of valuable copper beneath it. And that's pretty much it. Now go put some pants on, guy. Impressionable children are reading this. After that, it's Yankee Boy in Cold Cash for Casualties. What a panel! A school bus attempts to beat an ongoing engine through a railway crossing, but an unseen wire trips the choke rod, causing the bus to stall on the tracks. Great googly moogly! Mass casualties ensue, with the story making the local paper and coming to the attention of young Vic Martin. He learns schoolmate Frankie is recovering in the hospital and, during a visit, learns of the sinister cameraman who may have caused the accident. Vic dons the colorful costume of Yankee Boy, but before he can sell us any war bonds, the top floor of a nearby building explodes. Highly volatile cleaning fluid burns, leaving dozens trapped inside. Yankee Boy notes, Zach Nolan in the crowd, the same photographer at the scene of the bus tragedy. Confronted by the star-spangled teen, Nolan decides to fix this little wise guy once and for all. Luckily, a passing fireman frightens him off before he can finish the job, with YB regaining consciousness and escaping from the building's collapse just in time. Yankee Boy finds beat cop Mac and clues him into the situation. However, Nolan still lurks nearby. He hurls a brick at Yankee Boy from the building above, but it strikes poor Mac instead, killing him. And to think, he only had 3 days until retirement. Nolan rushes down from the building, but Yankee Boy gives him a scuff for his troubles. And there'll be plenty more like that where he's going. Yankee Boy rushes off to find a cop to make the arrest, but by the time the pair get back, Nolan has made his escape. Then Yankee Boy vanishes, leaving this poor cop to call Mac's wife and break the news. Across town, Nolan is in the office of the Evening News selling photographs of the accidents he himself staged. However, before he can skip off to Mexico with his ill-gotten gains, Yankee Boy arrives. Nolan is laid out with a devastating right hook, with the paper's editor bursting in to see what all the hubbub's about. Here's your new front page, and you're not gonna like it. Nolan is carted off, and Yankee Boy takes a bow. Don't dwell on that unfortunate busload of children or poor old Mac. This is your happy ending, folks. When it comes to superpowers, ventriloquism may very well rank at the bottom of the list. Still, you gotta work with what you got, so let's join Ekko as he takes on the Mad Monster. Cora chastises Eve for cutting through the park after dark, but Eve just laughs. Her friend worries too much. Then a panther leaps out of a bush and kills her. That escalated fast. It's the Mad Monster and his pet Caesar, who immediately melt back into the darkness. A cop discovers Eve's corpse, its throat slashed by hideous claws. Across town, a concerned Cora discovers her friend hasn't arrived home yet. She expresses these concerns, so title character Ekko and his brother, Dr. Doom, retrace her footsteps. Yes, I said Dr. Doom. Although there's no metal mast or misplaced rage, it returns! He's just another guy in a trench coat who saw something mysterious in the park last night. Investigating, the pair spy Mad Monster and Caesar skulking in the brush and pursue. Ekko throws his voice, distracting MM long enough to give him a sock on the jaw. However, Caesar protects his downed master, and Ekko is forced to follow their trail back to the zoo. Rudely awakened, the zookeeper insists the one panther he has is tame as a kitten. But Ekko isn't so sure. At police headquarters, we discover Caesar's clean, with no blood on his claws. Frustrated, Ekko pressures Cora into mooching around the zoo to sniff out anything suspicious. She lines up a date with Caesar's keeper. They'll meet tonight in the park. At this point, Cora's pretty put out. No gal likes being used as bait for a killer, but Ekko just bullies her into it. You're a hero, ladies and gentlemen. With this poor cop now roped in, Ekko lines up to play. Doc Doom will stand guard at the lion house while Ekko hides in a bush. And hey, it's Mad Monster and Caesar right on time. A horrified Cora can only watch as she's stalked before a bullet drops the panther in mid-leap. Alarmed, Mad Monster runs for it, with Ekko and his ventriloquism in hot pursuit. Chasing the killer into an abandoned water main, Ekko discovers paw prints in a secret tunnel that lead back to the zoo's panther cage. He throws his voice into the cage, confusing Mad Monster long enough to drop his mask. Not that he needed one. Just then, Doc Doom appears, leveling a gun at the fiend. Only it's jammed. Luckily, Ekko is there to even the odds. He jumps on the monster's back, taking the fiend down as the cops arrive. A good thing, too, as we've run out of pages. Next, you'll flip for Lucky Coyne. Unlike Ekko, this guy has no real talent or abilities to speak of, but sometimes a gimmick's just as good. Evening, and Helen Jordan appears at the detective's office. Seems she's inherited a mansion, but can't enjoy it because of the ghost of the evil eye. Right on cue, the ghost appears outside, projecting its uncanny influence with insane, gurgling laughter. Rushing to the window, Lucky fires a few rounds into the darkness. Not sure why he thinks he can shoot a ghost, but who am I to doubt a professional? The PI flips a coin to make his decision. Mind you, this was a good 5 years before a certain two-faced bat villain made that his shtick. Lucky and his tow-headed pal Terry head to the mansion to investigate. Working their way upstairs, they encounter the Black Demon, described as a giant black bat, except that's a vulture. Easily riled, the pistol-happy Lucky shoots it in the face. Will someone please take that gun away from him? The pair advance deeper into the mansion when a trick wall traps them inside. Terry takes a swat at it, and what do you know? Within lies a fortune in jewels. Just then, the evil eye appears at the head of the stair. They may know the secret, but they'll never leave Ghost Mansion alive. Our heroes give chase, with flames unexpectedly consuming the lower floors. Lucky finds another fake wall, this one leading to the roof. Below, they spy the evil eye making a break for it, but a leaping Lucky brings down the macabre menace. And under that disguise, it's Mr. Harms, the old caretaker. The mansion now burned to the ground, Helen heads off with her trunk full of jewels, leaving Terry to navigate sudden onset puberty alone. Good luck, kid. Then, from Scoop Comics number 8, it's the thrilling adventures of Dolly O'Dare. Policewoman O'Dare is summoned to Captain McCarthy's office after a morning of fruitlessly combing the mugshots for an image of the wily Blue Baron. Seems a model refuses to wear a rare platinum mink at a nearby fashion show unless she has police protection, so Dolly's now on the case. Meanwhile, the aforementioned Blue Baron pressures Karen here to enact his murder scheme. Inside the salon, Dolly meets John Lithgow, doing preliminary research for his role in The World According to Garp. Later, backstage, Dolly asks Marge just what it is she's so afraid of. Marge can't say, really, as she's busy popping pills. Dolly heads outside and runs into Karen, who wallops her with a length of pipe. However, before she can stash the unconscious policewoman in the closet, she's interrupted and runs off. And that's some hard head Dolly has. Our heroine back on her feet 2 panels later. The fashion show begins and Dolly heads inside, with a thwarted Karen and her length of bent pipe watching from the sidelines. As she approaches the runway, Marge begins to feel faint, dropping like a sack of potatoes in front of the shocked crowd. Dolly takes command, having the unconscious model taken back to her dressing room while she gets some water. Making his move, the Blue Baron traps our heroine in the bathroom. Thinking quickly, Dolly shoots the lock off the door. She discovers the salon, apparently ablaze. Worse still, Marge has been murdered. Dolly finds a note in Marge's shoe and notes her medicine bottle missing from the makeup stand. A fellow cop then bursts in. Turns out the place isn't on fire. The Baron just set off a smoke bomb to cover his tracks. Following the info on the note, Dolly cops a cab to the notorious slum section of town. A strange place for a high-toned gent like Baron Blue to hide out, but a mop's got to keep things on the DL. Entering the darkened house, Dolly begins to nose around. And she's found the Baron all right. He quickly disarms Dolly before placing her in a powerful headlock. Karen attempts to knock the policewoman out with ether, but Dolly isn't going down without a fight. A shapely leg snaps forward, striking the advancing Karen, who inadvertently shoots the Baron. That's tough, baby. You'll have to take the murder rap alone. Dolly leaves the bleeding Baron to succumb to the ether, but when the boys in blue arrive, the scoundrel is gone. That Blue Baron is poison, but Dolly is the antidote. Next up, the oldest book in my collection, Science Comics number 8, published by Fox Feature Syndicate in September of 1940. My copy is missing the cover and first flyleaf, but I'm able to share the complete story here thanks to Comic Book Plus. For lots more great comics just like this one, be sure to check out Comic Book Plus. After this video, of course. We begin with Lester Ray's The Eagle, with a mad scientist terrorizing the great city before cutting off its water supply. Foppish scientist Bill Powers gazes out at the sunset, wondering if criminal mastermind Bulvo will make good on his threats. If only the Eagle were on hand to help out. Little does butler Jason realize Powers is the aforementioned avian adventurer who leaps into action. The Eagle lands on the rooftop of Bulvo's secret headquarters. How he knows about it is unclear, but dwelling on it isn't going to help. Our hero swoops into the building and wallops the gunman, extracting the villain's whereabouts. Meanwhile, at the real hideout, Bulvo plans to divert water from the nearby dam. Unexpectedly, the Eagle bursts through the skylight. He makes quick work of the henchman, but Bulvo drops him with a chair. What an oddly specific weakness. Leaving the unconscious hero behind, Bulvo and his men head for the dam. They roll up and, with dynamite in tow, take out the security guard. At the same time, Eagle wakes from his nap. He discovers the map to the dam and finally gets it in gear. He runs across a nearby power line, but Bulvo's men turn their weapons on the advancing hero. However, glare from the sun gives him an essential advantage. Diving down, the Eagle busts up the carload of criminals, with the out-of-control vehicle smashing into a tree. This guy is judge, jury, and executioner. Simultaneously, Bulvo is set to depress the plunger and detonate the dynamite, but Eagle streaks in and gives him a swift kick to the face. However, villains were made of sterner stuff back then, and Bulvo grabs a pistol, for all the good it'll do him. Quickly disarmed, the villain goes down, but one of the henchmen remains, and he's got a fistful of dynamite. Lighting the fuse, he hurls the explosive, and the villains scamper behind a nearby rock for cover. This works about as well as you'd expect, with the bad guys blowing up real good. It's all in a day's work for our hero, who then goes on to invent the giant comedy suit decades before David Byrne. Next up, Dynamo by Harold Weber. Seems criminal mastermind The Wrecker is causing havoc by derailing trains. It's a blackmail scheme, and if the railmen don't pay up, even more sabotage will occur. To prove he's serious, The Wrecker causes a headlong collision, claiming even more victims. Just when things look darkest, Jim Andrews, electrical engineer, appears to help. You see, Jimmy is secretly the Dynamo, and I don't know, he's got some free time on his hands. Tracing the Wrecker's location, Jimmy powers up and heads off as Dynamo. Encountering the Wrecker's men, Dynamo begins zapping them with his strange electrical powers. Then the bad guys start shooting at him. How unsportsmanlike. That's okay. Dynamo can repel the bullets with an electrical field. He shocks the gunman into unconsciousness and, entering a nearby room, discovers the president of the railroad's daughter. He manages to untie her, but before they can make good on their escape, he's caught in a steel net. And our hero is out of juice. You'd think he'd at least carry a couple of 9 volts in his pocket. Powerless, Dynamo finds himself face to face with the Wrecker. And there's going to be a swell wreck tonight, with these two having a front row seat. The captives are sped to their rendezvous with death, where we learn the president of the railroad is also on board the doomed engine. Have mercy. The wrong signal is the right signal tonight. The villains plug the switchman and send the train careening towards certain doom. Tying the poor girl to the tracks, the Wrecker is taunted into placing Dynamo onto the electrified third rail, recharging our hero. Okay, so he's no criminal mastermind. Now at 100%, Dynamo frees himself and leaps into action. He shocks the henchman to death and races to free the president's daughter. With controlled power, he sears her ropes, then uses a bolt of electricity to throw the switch, diverting the train. And he doesn't even stick around for kudos, rushing back to his lab, presumably to shock himself some more. Hey, whatever gets you through the night. Next up, Dr. Doom. Another one. I'm surprised the HOA lets him put up a giant statue of his name like that. In my neighborhood, you can't even paint your fence. In his weird laboratory miles from civilization, the mad Dr. Doom works fiendishly day and night on his evil experiments. Reporters Jan and Wanda get wind of this and con editor Lane into sending them out to cover a missing person story. Seems everyone who's vanished was in some way associated with Dr. Doom. Who'da thunk it? The pair head out to Long Island to investigate, and strangeness immediately begins. Weird whirring noises emanating from Doom's house. Investigating, the pair approach. And hey, the door's open. I guess that means you get to go right in. Jan gets the strange feeling they're being watched, and with good reason. Meet Lodi the robot. Jan doesn't like the way he looks. Hey, I'm with you there. Our heroes understandably turn and run, but there's no escaping this nightmare. Lodi scoops them up and carries them away, although how he gets through those tiny doorways is never explained. And here's Doc Doom himself, about to set the pair on a fantastic adventure. With Lodi manning the controls, the insidious machine roars to life, and, with the flip of a switch, the pair are away. I don't have a copy of it to be sure, but I'm guessing for this panel, the script said, the pair are plunged into blackness, so that's just what artist Richard Cole drew. Two human forms spin into the mysterious beyond, losing most of their clothes in the process. Bet Jan wishes he'd worn clean underwear. The reporters end up in a strangely weird world filled with odd animals and even odder humanoids. They follow, reasoning the giant is stalking something, and hey look, grass huts. On a hunch, Jan bets there are people inside and drives the giant off with a well-pitched stone. And look, it's all the missing people who rush their new arrivals to safety. Meanwhile, on Earth, Editor Lane worries over his missing employees. Contacting the cops, a raid is launched on Doom's house, and after a brief skirmish, the doc goes down. He resentfully returns the displaced Earthlings, making for one heck of a scoop. So there you have it. Pretty raw stuff. The comics medium was still in its infancy here, crude artwork and storytelling being the rule rather than the exception. Indeed, companies would throw just about anything at the page to see what stuck, and it showed. This wasn't necessarily a bad thing, as we'd soon see amazing innovation from the likes of Wood, Eisner, and Cole, among countless others. And to think, we got there, one dime at a time. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and maybe share it with a friend. Comics go better with friends. I'm Jason Mink, and I'll see you next time at breakfast.